Alright, so the last video I did inspired me to create this video right here, which is essentially me explaining how to tell cinematic stories that matter in my own way, in my own style. I'm not much for intros and all that, so I'd like to just get straight into it. So the first step is putting your story into motion. There's no need for explanation. There's no need to try to explain anything. Allow your story to be the context. Allow the viewer to go on a journey. Allow them to figure out things on their own. Just allow them to pick up context here and there and see what they can muster from the fact that they're watching this video. So using my video as an example, the art of finding yourself, you're thrown into the story, right? The first thing that pops up is the man who embraces suffering. Okay, you're hearing this and you're like, okay, maybe we're talking about suffering, but what does he actually mean by this? Immediately after that, you have images about God, Christianity, whatever you want to say. They're black and white images and they're popping up. And you hear this man talking, this older man talking about suffering, talking about God. Okay, I'm building some type of thing right here. You're seeing the visuals and immediately it pops to this title, bam, suffering. And you're saying, okay, we're talking about suffering. And this man continues talking and then it shifts to someone else talking. You see what I'm saying? It's very different than you coming on this, like I'm coming on here right now and saying, okay, right now I'm going to explain suffering. I'm going to tell you exactly what I think about it. And I'm going to tell you this and I'm going to tell you that. Like, no, give yourself some space. Allow your story to tell the story. Allow your visuals to tell the story. Allow whatever else that you're putting in place to tell the story and just chill. You have to allow the viewer to sit here and say, okay, what is this video talking about? What is this video trying to tell me? What is this person that created this trying to say to me right now? The next step to me is connection and mirror. So it's almost like a person is picking up a mirror, they're looking at it, and they're saying, okay, in this reflection, I can see myself. This video is no longer about you. After you create something and you make it, you put it out, it's now about people. So when they're looking at this video, they're saying, okay, how can I view myself in this video? What value is this video going to give to me? How can I, as a viewer, connect to this video that you made? Where's the honesty? Where's the vulnerability? Throughout this video that I made, I put different aspects of vulnerability. We start with suffering. How can we cope with suffering? We go to ego. Our ego is the basis of all of our insecurities, right? We move into fear, the fear of putting out something new, the fear of starting something new and failing, and everybody looking at you and saying, this was trash. Then we move into masculinity. Okay, what does it mean to be a man? Okay, and then we move into connection. How do we build connection? Why does it matter to build connection? Whoever connects with it, connects with it. And the viewer puts up a mirror and says, okay, this part about what it means to be a man, this part connects with me because when I was a kid, whatever happened to me. Okay, I look at this suffering part. I've been through a lot of things in my life. So when I hear this part, I say, okay, how do we cope with this? It's not about you. It's about the connection that the person builds with the video. Then we move on to the shift, right? A shift is a point in the story where the story is taking a different direction. We're taking a completely different turn in this journey right now. It doesn't have to be completely different. It still has to be cohesive with the story. But now we're taking a shift to kind of keep the viewer on their toes a little bit. So for me, in my video, I had an interlude. And if you know anything about albums, you know there's a point in an album where there's an interlude to where you're taking a different turn in the album. That's all a shift really is. It's really just you moving in a different direction in order to continue telling the story that you're telling. Because at certain points when people are telling stories, there's a part that can get monotonous. Sometimes people feel like, okay, can we just get to the end? Like, okay, what's the point of you telling the story? Can you get to the end? But when you're actively becoming a really good storyteller, it's not about getting to the end. It was always about the journey. It was always about telling the story. We watch movies for the story. We don't watch movies to say, okay, I see where you're going with this, but let's just get to the end. That's a bad movie. A good movie is me watching something and saying, oh man, this movie took me on a whole different journey. Let me explain the entire movie to you. That's what a good movie does to you. And that's what a good video does for you. It allows the viewer to look at it and say, okay, oh my God, this video just ended. Let me watch it again because maybe there's something I missed. The next part for me is the lesson, right? If you ever watched or read about Greek mythology, or even if you've read like Aesop fables, you're listening or reading a story, and then you get to the point where you say, okay, at the end of the story, this was the lesson. That was the whole point of this story in general. So that's how you have to think about when you're telling a story in a video, right? You're asking yourself, what can someone take away from this video? What can someone learn from this video? Why should somebody watch this video? What will people take away when they are watching a video? Think about that when you're doing this. What is a lesson that I want someone to learn? So for me, this was the connection part of the video. The whole video came to the point where I'm saying, this is my understanding of connection. This is why I think it's needed. In the process of making the video, I said, one of the takeaways somebody can take from this video is we are attached to suffering, and I feel the only way that we can get out of it is through connection. That can be a takeaway. Maybe there are multiple takeaways from the video that you're making as well as it is mine, but that's one takeaway that I can say someone can think about. And when they're done watching my video, they say, okay, this really stuck with me. This is something I'm going to work on. This is something that that can add value to my life, right? Because ultimately that's why somebody is going to watch your video. It's to add value, as I've said in earlier parts of the video. Okay, so the bridge is how you take this idea that you had and it stems and comes full circle back to your initial purpose. Okay, so my whole purpose has always been to document my self-development and my thoughts through cinematic shots and to share it with people in order to help them. And this video accomplishes that exactly. It leaves you critically thinking and having you really sit back and try to navigate your own feelings, right? And as long as you're staying true to the purpose of whatever you're trying to achieve or whatever you're trying to get across to someone, then you know that you have done this step correctly. That's all the bridge is. And the last and final step is you're asking yourself, what are your intentions with this video? What are your intentions with this story? You should do this before posting, and sometimes even during the actual making of the video. Is really just asking yourself that. Does it actually reflect the things that you live by and the things that you speak about? Will it actually help people like you think it will? So my intentions was all of these things when I was making the video, but it was also me challenging and kind of going against societal beliefs and my own beliefs in the same right. And also kind of giving people a choice, letting people decide based off of the information I've given to them. So at the end of the day, this is just my take and my style on how I tell stories. You don't have to do it this way. You can do it whichever way you decide. Of course, there's different ways to tell stories, and sometimes you might have to get more in-depth based off of whatever story that you're trying to tell. But I thought that this would help, and I feel like I also allowed myself to explain some aspects of the last video I made. So if you made it to the end, thank you very much. The last video I made is called The Art of Finding Yourself. It'll be the video before this. It'll also be at the end of this, and I'll put it in the description as well. I think it's the best video I've ever made. Please check that out if you have time. Thank you for your time.